Welcome to Everything Life Coaching with John Kim and Noelle Cordeaux, founders of JRNI Coaching. If you're inspired to begin your own life coaching practice or just want to learn a little bit more about what it's all about, visit jrni.co. That's JRNI.co.
As we move on to the new year and we let go of the old, I think it's really important to reflect. And so this episode is going to give you some structure and questions to ask yourself as we start to reflect and think about some of the revelations we had for this year. Noelle's going to help me with this.
Hello.
How are you?
I think we're both kind of exhausted and face planting into the new decade.
Yes, and I love that you said that. So it gives us some slack and leeway for this episode. I also love that we always start with our truth, and that is our truth. And I think many can relate to that too.
Yeah. Oh, and it's also, I think the holiday season, the new year, the new decade comes with so much expectation.
Yeah, especially, this whole 2020. It has it just feels very heavy. It feels very like some kind of like bookmark or some kind of note that you got to hit because it's 2020.
It's also it's been really significant for me to think about the decade in context and to really actualize where I was 10 whole years ago and what a different species I am, how life is so very different, and then to actualize that I have the opportunity for another 10 years ahead of me to do the same.
Yeah. Do you what were your reflections of 2019? What was it good? Was it crazy? Was it just kind of broad strokes looking back?
It was a year, it was probably it was a year of uncertainty. Coming into 2019, I had no idea what was going to happen. I had no idea what life was going to be like because there were a lot of really big changes that took place right at the start of it. And what ended up happening was, this really beautiful wave of stability that showed up. That all of the hard work that I've put into different sectors of my life, my fitness journey, my financial journey, my business journey, my relational journey. And I've worked so hard on this stuff for years and years and years, and everything really started to come together. And
I can relate to that.
Yeah. And I started to experience this just kind of sense of peace. And then combined with the reflection of the decade, I was like, wow, like it really is possible to work hard and have things start to blossom.
Now, what do you want for 2020? Now that there is some sense of security and there's blossoming and seeds planted are hopefully bearing fruit now. So what's your wish for 2020?
So you're going to be very happy with this. I'm going to focus on myself.
I love it. What a great reminder. Yeah.
Yeah. So my tendency is to, work my way out of whatever is in front of me. And I will sacrifice myself often the expense of myself to get whatever done that needs to be done. And I'm done. I'm done doing that.
So more self-care, more listening to your needs, more sending people to voicemail, more, you don't have to check emails when they come in, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, and more honest boundaries, I think. Honest boundaries of, my problem pot is full. I'm too tired. No, I cannot do that. No, I will not do that. Things like that.
Noelle and I have a running joke of things that we accidentally say that can make great t-shirts, and my problem pot is full. Just made the list.
Oh, yeah. Our t-shirt line coming soon.
So let's give the listeners some structure on things to think about as you reflect back over the past year.
Oh, and I have a wonderful pun. Hindsight is 2020.
Yes, 110%.
So
Um,
it's a great setup because,
yes.
what we teach in the intensive at Journey Coaching is one of the techniques is appreciative inquiry. And appreciative inquiry is not only a coaching framework, but it's also a philosophy of looking to the past for what has worked, for what has been life giving, for what has been affirming, and to give yourself notice around that which you'd like to pull forward into the future.
Yeah, I think this is really important because many people, they're running from the past. They don't want to open the black box, right? They don't want to review and reflect. Instead, they just kind of like want to rip out that chapter. And I think when you do that, there's no learning, There's only fear and panic as you move forward.
Yeah, because and I do think that's a tendency with almost everything that we do that's contributed to by negativity bias. Our brains are just naturally attuned to look at that which is negative. So, in a very real way, what coaching and positive psychology does is trains your brain. It's optimism training. Whether you're looking at the past, the present, or the future, to say there is also good, there was also positive, there is strength that lives.
Yes, I mean, so what she's saying is using this technique, and of course the new year, as a reason to go back and start to train your brain to see what worked, to see what was successful, how you felt about things, all of that.
Yeah. So, I've been self-disclosing. How about you? Looking at the year past, what worked and what didn't in all of your
Um,
areas?
yeah, I feel like there a lot didn't happen this year, but then Amanda reminded me that so much did happen, and so I, like you, felt a lot of uncertainty, turbulence, a lot of um, inner stuff going on in 2019 as far as career, relationships, friendships, also my fitness journey, all of that. And then toward the end, um, I felt very parallel to you in that I had a sense of accomplishment, a sense of security, reminders that my book is doing well, and then getting an opportunity to write another book that'll keep me busy, and all the stuff and the growth of Journey. So yeah, I feel like the plane has landed and it's not going through turbulence as I move into 2020. But of course, now I have a baby coming, so that's a whole nother.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
your life
yeah,
is about to be totally disrupted. So
yeah.
I want to model a coaching skill for everybody. It's called asking permission. So I heard a lot of really rich stuff in there.
Hmm.
And as a coach and being naturally curious and being a good friend of John's, I want to go deeper, but
Hmm.
I need to ask permission first. So John, do I have permission to probe a little bit deeper?
Yes, you do.
Wonderful.
Always.
Because awesome. Because as you were talking, I was hearing really, really broad strokes and knowing the amount of upheaval that's going to take place when you have a cute, squishy little baby in your life. It's it's a wonderful opportunity to look really specifically at the areas of your life that are giving you foundational wealth right now that you know that are in place because you've worked hard on them and you can rely on them. So, how about your home environment? Let's start there. Tell me about it. What
Yeah,
works?
so
What's
I'm
good?
I'm gonna move because I need an extra room, and one of the things is I'm moving back to Glendale, which I told myself I would never do because I was raised there. And also, it's on my mom's street. So I'm not only moving back to Glendale, but I'm moving on the same street my mom lives on, and which, a part of me has a lot of resistance and it makes me feel like I'm regressing. But then, of course, another part of me is very appreciative because, who gets the help of their mom at any time when they're having a child? So everyone is saying that you're going to save so much money just by your mom living across the street. So I'm trying to
Oh,
see
yeah.
that as positive.
It's incredibly positive. And looking like really specifically internally into your home, just when we've done stuff together on video, I've noticed a lot more color and a lot more plants.
Mm. Yeah, I used to, home was always a transition, so I never put any effort into making it a nest. And I remember just about 2 years ago starting that journey, and that's why you see more color in plants and it to feel more like a home.
What has that done for you spiritually and psychologically?
Oh man, that's I love that you brought that up because it's proof that something so simple, the mindset of turning your home into a nest and whether it's plants or however you want to do it, it gives you a safe tree. It makes you create a space to reset. So before, just living in coffee shops, my home was a hotel,
Mm.
and it made me feel like I didn't have a safe place in the world. And I did that because to me, home didn't exist until you bought property. And so, because I haven't bought property, I just neglected my home or never put effort into it. But now, the new mindset is to do everything to make your home your nest, and that's going to be your safe tree where you can reboot and feel secure and safe in the world. And so that mindset alone has just really changed my daily state.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, guys, listening, this is appreciative inquiry at work. When I drilled down and asked John what nesting has done for him spiritually and psychologically, you could hear his voice pick up. That was quickness there. So when John started speaking more rapidly, that was evidence that what he was talking about was a new threshold of existence. Congratulations, John, for your new
Thank you.
threshold of existence. That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Yeah.
And this is how this works. I went on a really similar journey to you with my home environment. We
Mm.
finally got our beautiful home to a place where we want it, where all of the rooms are filled with furniture, they're functional, and it makes such a difference to be living in a place versus visiting it.
Yes, so I spent most of my life visiting my places instead of actually living in them.
Hmm. Me too. And even when I did own my own house, there were so many people in and out of it, and there were rooms that I just kind of said, "Oh, let's close that door." And so,
Hmm.
really taking responsibility for my home environment has, in so many different ways, connected me to my core self.
Yeah, yeah, and we're just talking about our home environment. I love that you said connected you to your core self. Other environments to look at are fitness, financial,
Hmm.
career, friendships, um, spirituality. And I think as we start to look at all these other areas of our life, going back to what you just said, connecting back to your core self and what that looks like. So with me, with the home, it was just, making it a nest, putting plants, like decorating it, making it feel cozy, buying a couch, stuff like that. But if we do a version of that with all other areas of our life, then we're actually changing our life.
Yes, and having those check-ins, and I think the connection to the self here is for me the most important point. It's something that's been coming up a lot with our students in the intensive and with clients. I have been getting a sense, and I've experienced it myself, that way too many people are fundamentally disconnected from what they even like.
Mm. Because why do you think that is? Because they don't know them, they don't ask themselves that question.
Well, I think it goes back to the roots of the Industrial Revolution with the commodification of society and the use of designer goods to signal a certain level of status to others.
Mm.
So I'll give you guys the cliff notes. I talk about this a lot. So we used to live in communities where physical features were recognizable. So it was a more character-based society. And then post-industrial revolution, when people migrated huge distances into cities without their communities, folks didn't have a way to signal to each other who they were. And so designer goods became the way to do that, to say to someone, if I can afford this watch, that is a signal to you walking down the street that we are in the same socioeconomic status or not. Um, so
So it
we've
was
been sold.
it was kind of like your ticket into the quad. It was a way to feel accepted and valuable and successful.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so, looking out, into society, especially given the fragmentation and curation of social media and our lives and the breakdown of like everyday community relationships. People have an idea of what they might like to present to signal to others, this is quote unquote who I am. But, really the concept of having an individual brand is exhausting because you're just like yes and knowing everything without actually taking time to understand the experience of living in contentment and enjoying and savoring.
So, what do you think should be the focus today? If that's kind of where we've come from, and now, of course, with the internet giving people freedom, and also allowing people to connect to themselves, what should be the mindset today to get away from that, so you're not exchanging your truth, for membership?
Critical introspection. And I'll give
Mm,
everybody an exact point at which at which I would like you to start doing this. So every time you take a fucking picture that you're going to post on Instagram as a signal to others of your existence, to actually step back and ask yourself if you're enjoying
right, right.
that thing.
Instead of, are they enjoying?
Right. Like is the thing that you're about to post as a signal to others that this is who you are you actually enjoying yourself?
Yeah, I think if you can do that with everything, your life will change. This
Mm-hmm.
idea of bringing it back to you. Are you enjoying, she mentioned the photo, but are you enjoying work? Are you enjoying this meal? Are you enjoying this conversation? Are you enjoying,
Oh,
all of that?
all of it. One of our coaches is feisty and brilliant, and I love everything she has to say. And she publicly posted once, just like out of the blue, I don't have sex if I don't want to. Read that
Mm,
statement again. If you have a problem with it, come talk to me. And I was like, damn, like that's the way to do it, like,
right.
and it's just simple statements like that. Like what do you want?
I also believe that when we make tweaks like that, mental tweaks, shifts in our perspective and kind of what we kind of put weight on, that little, it may seem little, but that ripples and it ends up being a huge change. I mean, it literally, you end up taking different paths and you're making different choices just because of that tweak in mindset.
Yeah, because you're centering yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and I really encourage you guys for 2020 maybe to start there. Maybe to start with what does it look like for me to center myself, to connect back to me, and then work outward. And then in the areas of my life, how can that be the main focus?
Yeah, and looking to the past, what do I want to keep and what
Yes.
do I want to shift?
Yeah. So let's go over some of these questions that I think are great, or you could call them topics, as far as reviewing in the past year, things to think about. So the obvious: what worked, what didn't work, and of
Yep.
course, applying that to all areas of your life, home, environments, fitness, career, friendships, relationships, intimate, spirituality, all of that. What else?
So what have been special accomplishments of the year past?
Mm.
What do you think for you?
Um, I think for me, my special accomplishment of 2019 was, and I don't know how much of it is me or how much is the universe, but that my book made it into the airport. And for me,
Yeah.
I've had a lot of um, difficult relationships with myself as a writer, and really not believing that I am a writer, that I got lucky, all of that, kind of feeling like imposter syndrome. And then it wasn't until I had the experience of seeing my book at an airport that something shifted in me, where I felt a sense of accomplishment, like I felt like I did something. So that was really big for me this year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think for me, it was a little bit less tangible, but really hitting my stride with leadership and understanding that the way that I show up as a leader is never going to look like anybody else or anything that's makes sense in anybody else's world, and that that's okay. It just needs to work for me.
Yeah, I love that, especially today where there's so many leaders the definition of leadership is always changing, and I think it's important that it's going to be unique to you as an individual.
Yep, and that I have proven to myself that I can be very effective in my
Yes.
own way, using my own style, and that I think similar to you of fighting with myself and really feeling like I've been pushing a boulder uphill. Now, kind of sitting back and saying, "Huh, I can do this."
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
made me and also, I think getting to a point where it's okay to announce this stuff
Hmm.
and for
Absolutely.
for for you to say, you know what, I'm really proud of this. I've reached this threshold of my existence. I'm at peace with myself as a writer. And for me to say, I'm really good at this. Like, I'm good at leading an organization.
Hmm.
And that feels real.
Yeah, we never give ourselves that, because we're always, if we do accomplish something, we're always then trying to accomplish more or better, and we don't take a minute and just sit in that accomplishment. And I think that's really
hmm
important to do.
And this is another really good follow-up question. Can you repeat it?
Mm,
The thing that you're really proud of, is it repeatable?
right. I love that.
And then that leads
Uh,
into, what were the distractions?
yes. What were the distractions? What can be done to minimize them for the new year?
Yeah. And so, guys, what this is basically, you're looking at the past as kind of a process flow. So I think for both John and I, yeah, we can absolutely repeat the two things that we're very proud of, writing and leadership. So that gives us a choice now. Do we want to pull this into the new year?
Right. And also, how
So
are we going to do it?
how are we going to do it? So what got in the way? What were the distractions? And my list of distractions is pretty long and wide, but for me, it's that's really where centering self-care came from, is
Hmm.
that I reached a new place in my fitness and health journey where I really started liking the way I felt. I liked
Mm.
the energy thresholds, and I realized that what was getting in the way for me was exhaustion that was coming from not taking care of myself.
Yeah, and I've really learned that getting in touch with how you feel is so much more. It's going to lead to so much more productivity than just what you need to get done. So if you focus on dropping into your body, yourself, what you need, and of course, self care is part of this, then I think your productivity over the long haul skyrockets a lot more than just this needs to be done, and you start burning the candle at two ends.
Oh yeah, and for me it was also um, a realization. So I'm 39, and that in this next stretch of 10 years, I'm gonna go from 40 to 50.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like, I always had this concept of, okay, my 30s, and now I'm really starting to think critically about what I want that next stretch to look like
Right.
for me as I age. And that's been a really profound shift in thinking.
Yeah, what you want your next decade to look like. That's a it's a
hmm
big question. And of
It's
course
a
you can't
big question.
and you can't hold on to it too tightly because so much can happen in a decade. And so much can
Oh,
happen
I
in a
know,
year.
but you
Yeah.
know me. I have like a 25-point plan with like tabs on it, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I can give you a very thorough rundown of exactly what I want to happen in the next decade. And I'll make it happen. But so it's like, but the distractions are going to be the thing that would get in the way for me. So really drilling down on discipline, getting enough sleep, getting enough good nutrition,
Right.
getting enough exercise. Um, all of that good stuff. So
Noelle has
as
a
we're
25-page plan with tabs on it, and then I have one sentence written with a crayon on a napkin. That's kind of who we are.
it is, we
Plans
should
out next
frame both
decade.
of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I want to point out and highlight some of the aspects of this technique, appreciative inquiry, looking to the past. It's a focus on the positive.
Hmm.
We haven't been trashing ourselves here. We've been having a really lovely conversation that feels good,
Right.
and ask questions that go back to personal stories, and then ask questions that get you thinking about your preferred future. Like when I said, both of our highlight reel is repeatable, but do we want that?
I love that you used the word preferred, because it doesn't feel like saying this needs to happen, because then that is lined with desperation and pressure and fear. But when you say preferred, it kind of feels like you're saying this is my wish for myself, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is my preference. Like,
Yeah.
I like
Not that if it doesn't happen, then then I'm suddenly a piece of shit, right? It's
right. I like
preferred.
both apples and oranges. Which would you prefer?
Right, right,
Do
right.
you want an apple or do you want an orange? Yeah, it's your preferred future. And so let's highlight, also how this stuff works. So given that we've been rolling ourselves through these techniques, how do you feel right now?
I feel hopeful. I feel excited. I feel like I talk a lot about the difference between a chapter and an act break. And I think for me, especially with having a child for the first time, it's going to be an act break, meaning,
Yeah.
there are many chapters, but there are very few act breaks. And act breaks are where you take all your chapters and they kind of close and you kind of start with a brand new canvas. The protagonist in a story, when there's an act break, just turns 180, and so it also an act break pushes your story forward more so than any chapter.
Yes, yes, very much so. And has your energy shifted at all from the position it was in when we started our call?
Yeah, I think just talking about reviewing, reflecting, uh, brings me more calm,
Mhm.
and then also getting excited about all the possibilities for 2020.
Me too. And I'm not gonna lie, I was cranky.
Yeah,
I
you were.
was like, I was straight up cranky, when we hopped on, and now my endocrine system is pumping. I'm
Good.
connecting with you. I'm hearing your life. I'm getting excited about it. I'm connecting with myself and my own life. And guys, this is what coaching looks like and feels like. Like what we're doing is the coaching conversation. So if you've been thinking about this and you love Journey, come hang out with us in the new year and learn
Mhm.
these techniques for yourself so that you can spread this goodness out in the world like John and I do.
I love that we have fun and we goof around in our podcast, because um, that's also okay in coaching. Coaching doesn't have to be this super serious buckle down,
No.
it could actually be a fun conversation. And that's why I really appreciate the casual over clinical.
Yes, yes. I laugh with all my clients and all of our students, and I cry with them. I cry at least once a class because I get so
Yes.
moved.
The takeaway for me in this episode is when Noelle said "in your own way," not as in get in your own way, but to do things in your own way, and that leads to connecting with yourself. So maybe put that in your back pocket, and also take some time to reflect on 2019, everything that happened, and all the stuff that was good.
Yeah, and then pick up those nuggets and carry them with you in your pockets to the future.
Yes. All right, guys, be well.
Ready to cut through the BS of becoming a coach? Snag John and Noelle's 6-step guide to becoming a life coach at journey.co/everything. That's JRNI.co/everything. If what you've heard here today speaks to you and you want to learn a little bit more about becoming a coach, visit journey.co, JRNI.co. We've graduated nearly 1,000 coaches and offer vibrant community, strong lifetime support, and world-class coaching education. We're fully ICF accredited and look forward to watching how you use coaching to make a bigger impact in the world around you.